You are listening to Down Home. I know you've heard the old African proverb that it takes a village to raise a child. When you think about it, it's very true. As a child grows, they are raised around the values and morals of the entire village, not just what's going on at home. Jay and I had the benefit of being raised in a black community that took this to heart. This week we talked with one of the mentors that played a big part in the village that raised us. Community advocate and lifelong educator Melinda Daye. In our conversation, we talk about her life in the church and the effects of gentrification in the North End of Halifax. I'm Derek Wise, and on behalf of Jay Jones, welcome to Down Home, the Nova Scotian experience from two black men.
Hello.
Hi, Melinda. It's Derek. How you doing?
I'm good, thanks. Hi.
Hi. I'm going to bring Jay into the call here. Just give me 2 seconds.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Jay Jones, you there?
I'm here.
Yeah. Yeah, we're here.
All right. Hi, Melinda. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. I'm good.
All right. So anyway, how's your day going today?
It's not too bad. Like I said, the weather's crazy, so we just go with this stuff. It's really messy out there, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's one of those days when you're in and you want to just stay in, I guess.
Yeah, true.
Not much going on up there.
No.
It's a lot of ice, eh?
Oh, really?
And then rain. Ice and rain. Yeah.
That's really messy. Now, do you still go to it's called New Horizon Church now, right?
Yeah, it is. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're still going?
Yeah, I'm a deacon in the church now.
Oh, okay, that's awesome.
Yeah.
But there's probably been some changes there, like in the way that like there's the people that are going, like all the like me and Jay, we haven't been in Halifax for the longest time. Like all those old legacy families that used to go to old Cornwallis Street. There's probably not too many people left, is there?
Well, their children. To be honest with you, their children and young children are there now, right?
Yeah.
And their children and grand. There's a lot of new families, of course, but there's a lot of the old families that are still going, and they come from all over. They come from Halifax, Spryfield, Mulgrave Park, Dartmouth. They travel into the community. Not so much all live in the community. So there's a number that are still here in the community, but there's a number that moved out but still attend the church. But our church has been, we've been out of our actual church building for the last 4 years. 4 years. We were thinking we would be out for 2 years because we've done extensive renovations and repairs. Eh?
Oh.
And then came COVID in the middle of it all.
Yeah.
And then we had to change. Yeah, we also changed our contractor. We had to change the contractor, so that put us back, and a few other things, money put us back. But we're right at the end now because within the next week or two, we're going to be finally entering our church. So we're looking forward to that. Yeah.
Oh, so you actually haven't been in the building for that long? Oh my goodness.
No, we haven't been in the building. We've been in, there's another church down on Barrington Street. It is a United Church. And they contacted our pastor. Our pastor is now Reverend Rhonda Bricken. And they contacted her a couple of years ago and heard what our dilemma, and they offered their church to us. So we've been worshiping there on 2 years. 12 o'clock on Sundays. We have our service. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
That's good that everyone was
that's
able
what's been going on.
That's good the congregation was able to stay together, though.
Yeah, they were. They were.
Now, growing up...
We lost a lot of people.
Sorry, go ahead.
We lost a lot of our elders during COVID.
Really?
It was very, very hard on this community. We lost elders not only in the church but in the community.
Yeah.
So we and I know you heard about the nursing care homes, right?
Yeah.
And quality of care, and how when COVID hit, a lot of the homes didn't have what they needed. And the one in particular that was affected the most happened to be the one in Northwood, where all our people were.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we started seeing people drop off. Like, it was sad. we were sad, and we were scared to even pick up the phone.
Yeah.
Because it was happening like that. It was just happening like that. Mrs. Upshaw was gone. Tony and his mother, he's the MLA down here.
Mm.
She died. Linda Carvery's son and Linda Nelson's son, Derek, died. Mrs. Upshaw died. It just went. Mrs. Jahalia Smith died. Mrs. Geraldine Parker died.
Oh, my goodness.
Mrs. Beals from Union Square died. Like, we were just boom, boom. Mrs. Marlene Adams Patterson, Carmen and them guys' mother.
Yeah.
She died. You guys, it was like, we were just steady grieving, and we were at we were at a point where, it was shut down, so you couldn't even visit one another. You couldn't grieve with one another. You couldn't go and do anything to comfort one another. So a lot of families were just doing whatever they could by themselves. COVID took a tremendous toll on our community.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had no idea so many of the elders passed during that time period.
Yeah. That's a whole nother, really another story. It really is, in terms of, many of us have been asked to speak about what happened to us, right? We've been doing, I've done a lot of interviews, and other people as well,
mm-hmm.
in terms of what happened to us during COVID. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, of course, you knew about the shooting, Then you remember that mass shooting down here?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So there we were, shootings, deaths. Oh gosh, we were having a real hard time in this province for quite a while. Yeah.
Yeah. Now growing up, me and Jay remember you as one of the neighborhood mentors, like really, really solid presence in the community. And back then, you still had a big involvement in the church. I remember you were the choir leader, and also your involvement in education. For our listeners, can you just break it down for us and tell us what you were involved in back in the day?
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for that. I was always a community advocate, I guess I would say. I started, and to be honest with you, we started when we were in our teens, and your mom was one of those many people that was in the trenches as well, right? Heather Chandler. But anyhow, I started when I was in my teens. For instance, when we went to Queen Elizabeth High School, there were no black presence in any of the sororities or any of the extracurricular activities and groups and stuff like that. So a number of us decided that we were going to break some of these barriers, and we tried out for something as simple as there were no black cheerleaders, and there wasn't going to be as far as they were concerned. So 7 of us tried out, and 4 of us made it. So we were, quote, the QEH's first black cheerleaders. They never had any cheerleaders. It was 1971, 72, something like that.
Right.
But we did things like that. As I got older and I went on to university and got my BEd, I became a school teacher. And then I remember some years ago, later, I think I was probably in my late 20s, early 30s, when my dad approached me about the Black Learners Advisory Committee because of the racism in the education system. So I was involved in that. But I was one of the probably the second youngest person to serve on that board because everybody on that board was much older than me at the time. They were in their then it was late 50s and 60s, right? And then there was me, and I was in, like I said, late 20s, early 30s, and there was a young man, Reverend Wallace Smith's son, Jonathan Smith. He was the other young man that served with the Black Learners Advisory Committee, and we provided the Black Report on Education, 3-volume report. So we still very much have that today, and everything that's happened as a result of the Black Report, and the Black Educators Association had a great impact as well, especially. I was a member of the Black Educators Association. I was one of their executive directors. I was seconded from the Halifax School Board for 5 years, and I was the executive director. And then in the later years, I became the president of the Black Educators Association. But during all of this, one of the things that I loved the most, I always love being with young people. Helps keep me young as I am. But I always love being with kids. I always love being with younger people, and I love being around older people. You could see me at this level, and you could see me up here with the 70 and 80-year-olds, and I was just perfectly fine because I always love to listen and listen for wisdom and guidance and the history stuff, like what you guys are doing today kind of thing. So one of the things, I went to the United States many years ago, and I saw this children's choir and youth choir, and I saw what they were doing and everything like that. And I remember coming back, and I told our pastor at that time, it was Reverend J.C. Mack, and I said, Reverend Mack, I would really like to start a youth choir. I think this church and community needs some youth and choir and youth and ministry and choir ministry. That would be a great way of reaching young people. And I tell you, that choir went on for how many years, you guys? I think we were there for at least 20-some years. Yeah. We were. Because these young, they're all your age and younger now, and when you think about the number of people that came through that choir, that's a whole nother topic too, you guys, because a lot of them, are like doing some exceptional things in their not only their personal lives, but in the lives of the community in Nova Scotia and further. Like, the Shantae Grants, right? And, so many, I'm just calling her name, but Susie, look at Susie Gango, who is now Susie Hansen, Joanna Lewis, I could just go on and on. Alicia, we have school teachers, we have lawyers, we have poets, we have, community advocates and activists, and we have teachers, we have a number of people who came through that choir. And we rehearsed every Friday night. Every Friday night. I might be late getting in there because I was always coming from some other meeting or maybe coming from school. And then I used to, teach school in various communities. So I would always bring other kids with me. So I remember being in Spryfield, and I was teaching out there. And there was a lot of kids who would never normally get to church or get to, let alone sing in a youth choir, And we did that, so I would bring them in. we did a lot, not just singing in the church, but we sang throughout the province at so many events. We sang at the province house. We sang at the lieutenant governor's house.
Yeah.
We were always in demand. They were asking us to sing, and we sang, uplifting songs, songs of faith and gospel. But we also sang a lot of songs that about being black and proud.
Mm-hmm.
And I taught them to be young, gifted, and black.
Yeah.
And they just loved all that. I did a play with them in terms of, us as a people, where we come from, where we came from as a people, and the long struggle that we had, where we are in the North End of Halifax, and moved on. It was just wonderful. Yeah. There's a lot of great memories.
Yeah, it's an enduring legacy, definitely, and like you were right in the middle of all that. You were a huge part of that. I remember. Well, Jay knows because Jay was in the choir.
Yeah, I was.
Yeah.
But you're a huge part of that.
Were there.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah. Remember the gown that you wore, Jay?
Pardon me?
Remember those gowns that you wore, Jay?
Yes, I do. I do. They're all going through my mind right now. I'm having some flashbacks of nostalgic moments about the church and the choir. Yeah.
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 You were one of the first people to encourage me to sing, actually.
Yes. Yeah.
No, it's,
I got you and a few other guys to sing. Yeah. You were reluctant, but I got you guys to do a little quartet or something like that.
I do remember. Yeah, I remember the song. It was "My God Will See You Through. He knows just what to do. He'll open up doors for you." I can't sing that now, but I remember that song. That was the song that was one of my parts that I had to sing in the choir.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So many of you often refer to that song and so many others. It's a wonderful testimony to that I cherish. That God used me in that way, and that so many of you were. These songs, as children, they would mean one thing to you, but as you get older in life, that particular song takes on a whole different meaning in terms of the course of your life. Like, my God will see you through. He knows just what to do.
Mm-hmm.
He'll open up doors for you.
Yeah.
He'll lift you up, when you're down, and there was one called Step in Jesus and Rescue Me. And I remember one of our guys, he told me in the later years, I often wondered where he was and how he was doing. He's doing much, much better today, but he told me that one time, he got into some difficulties in the out west, and he was sitting in a jail cell. And he said, Lynn, he said, that song came to me, and I just sat there, and I started singing, Step in Jesus and rescue me. Step in Jesus and rescue me. I know that you're able to rescue me. And he sang, I said, wow, that's what it's all about, bring them up, train them. And when they get older, they will not depart from it, because all these things will mean so much more to them as they become adults.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And here he is today. Yeah,
that's very powerful. It's
I could go on. So,
well, talking about pillars of our community, your father, Delmore Buddy Day. I just knew him as just Buddy Day because I saw him every day.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, talking about pillars of the community, like Buddy was a pillar of the Black community in all of Nova Scotia. Tell what did you learn from his legacy that you try to carry forward and pass on to the next generation?
I think I know what I learned was a sense of stick-to-itness. Like, you start something, Lynn. He used to say, Lynn, you started it. You got to stick with it. And he also told us, he said, you got to find yourself not only at the table, but you got to find yourself in the trenches as well.
Mm.
And not everybody can do that, he said. So don't worry about it if some people can't get in the trenches. they're just fine at the table. But some people can get in the trenches, and they're also good at the table. And so I learned from Daddy how to be in the trenches and at the table. So I've been at many a table, in education and in betterment of our people, in terms of this North End, especially, and in terms of Nova Scotia. Been at lots of different tables where my voice can make a difference. But I also know what it is to march with and for, and write letters with and for and on behalf of our people, and what it is to take interviews, over the years about what's going on in the various injustices that we had to address over the years in terms of education, employment, and housing, those type of issues. So I learned that Daddy always said, say what you mean and mean what you say. So look and listen, and then say what you mean. And make sure that you're saying what you mean and you mean what you say, because sometimes people go back on it and they forget. But the people around the table and the people listening, they remember what you said. So try to remember what you're saying and mean what you say. Yeah, and I was with them. I'm the oldest of 9, and all of us had a tremendous impact with Daddy. And I think, now that we got older, we realized that we were in a home, as with so many other people too, but this thing called Afrocentric education, you hear of it, right? That term?
Yeah.
Being Afrocentric?
Yep.
But we were in a home like that. We were always guided with that. We were guided with the church. Mom made sure we were in church. We were in Sunday school. The boys were in the boy program. The girls were in the girls program. We were in choir. We were in church. We were brought up church kids, like so many other kids as well in our community. We were church kids. And we were also brought up to be very social conscious, social justice. It meant a great deal. We were brought up with Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. Daddy had their records, and we heard the Martin Luther King record. We knew how to sit and listen. Daddy would have us sit and listen to the various speeches of Dr. Martin Luther King. And today, is January 15th, the day in which Dr. King was born. But we also knew, Daddy wanted us to also know who Malcolm X was. And, that we had an appreciation for both of these gentlemen and their contributions that they made to the struggle of our people. We grew up in homes with, recognizing so many different people coming in and out of our home, like Reverend Dr. Oliver and Dr. Carrie Beth and George McCurdy and Carolyn Thomas, Brad Partney, Ahmed Rashid. There's so many names that we could go on about, with people that were always in and out of our home. And certainly Rocky Jones and my dad did an awful lot of work together as well. They were in and out of each other's homes, shared a lot in terms of what was going on in the community, how to best address it. And he came from this perspective, Rocky came from that perspective. But I can honestly tell you, I know I was in the trenches, that they both were on the same page a great deal of time in terms of what had to be done in lifting this community and addressing the racism that was, very prevalent in Nova Scotia.
Very much so. As you mentioned, all these names and and just thoughts of the community. It was a community like really built on faith, and of course the hub of that, which Derek and I talked about before, was the church. And the church, New Horizons now, back then was Cornwall Street Baptist Church, and I remember traveling there each Sunday. And going there each Friday for those Friday night youth choir practices. And I do remember all the time the sense of community and how many people we had there mentoring us and trying to make us be better, or at least passing on what we need to know to be strong in the community. We were lucky to have that, Derek and I. But from your perspective, now the North End is a lot different. How do you feel about the Black community being pushed out of the North End because of gentrification these days?
Oh, I'm pausing because whenever I bring, whenever this subject comes up, it's a very tender subject, Derek and Jay. It is. When you realize, and we were just together as a family yesterday. We had a family get together yesterday afternoon, and we were. No matter what fun we have, it seems like we always go back as we sit around the table and talk about what the community is now in terms of what we had and who we were as a people and what happened and how did this happen, Yeah, it does pain our hearts because one of the things that we said yesterday was, a lot of people will look at North End now, in particular Maynard, Creighton, Garish, which is now Buddy Day Street, and especially Creighton. You'll say, look at the difference. Oh, look at these beautiful homes, and look at. And so it doesn't look nice and doesn't look great. And our response is, yes, it does. When we were growing up, when we lived here, we felt that, this is our home and it's our community, and we felt great about it. Sure, yes, we would have wanted things nicer and better, but why do things have to become nicer, better, but without us? And that, it's going to be really good. It's going to be nice. We're going to build these beautiful homes, and we're going to remodel these homes. We're going to renovate these homes. We're going to bring in apartment buildings and condos up here and all of the above. But, there's a but, and the but is, your presence, that strong Black presence, that community spirit, will be less and less and less. And so what we've seen is, sadly, that our homes were bought, at very low prices. It had to have been. These homes were bought out by these people, the developers that want to get in this community, and they had a long-term plan, and that long-term plan was that they like this North End. They like where it is. They like where it's situated, and they want it. And you can't even say that they want it back because it was never really theirs. We thought we'd been here. I think I was trying to say to you last time we talked, there's some indication that we've been here in Creighton Street as a Black community since the early 1800s. When people were sending their loved ones from every community across the Nova Scotia, whenever you had to come to Halifax, you sent your loved one to Creighton Street and Gary Street. That's where our homes were. We had a great hall. It was Gary Street Hall. The Wilberforce Lodge was in there. We had a great bunch of old elder men and women that were doing tremendous things. We talk a lot about Viola Desmond and what happened to her. But you know what? It happened here in this community with the Nova Scotia Association for the Advancement of Colored People, and the two people that she went to for help, that her father and mother went to for help, because as a result of that incident, that horrible and racist incident, was Reverend and Mrs. Pearline Oliver, Reverend W.P. Oliver and his wife Pearline Oliver. They were the pillars at the time. People like my dad and other people were much younger. They were coming in under the tutelage of men and women like the Olivers. So that NSAACT, all part of this community, and everybody met. The meeting place was in the church hall.
Yeah.
So we miss a lot, guys. We have lost a lot. But I'll tell you that there's a spirit within our people that will not let go. There's a spirit within us. There's something within that we will not let go. There are so many of us that still have so strong a tie that you are even demonstrating it from Toronto. that tie, that bind, that no matter what goes on, we will try to find our way back in here and have celebration of some sort, and remembrances, memorials, street dances, street, street parties, whatever you want to call them. But I mean, we had one a couple years ago when Mom had her 90th birthday. We blocked off the street, you guys. Listen to me. This street was blocked off, and it was just like back in the day. Everybody came. The word was out, and it was a beautiful summer day, and it was just like back in the day.
Yeah.
And we had a great time all day and late into the night. Into the night. Music was pumping. We rode in the middle of the street. Those are the things that we remember. So it's hard for our young people to get back into the community, to buy a home, even to rent a home. My son and many others would want very much to rent a home and maybe even one day buy a home, but it's very difficult. It's very, even to rent one. They tried to rent a home here on Maynard Street, and the price that they were quoted was $3,200 a month plus utilities.
Oh my!
Damn.
Oh my!
To rent, $1,300 plus utilities. So the system is always designed that it's going to be that much harder for you to ever get back in. But we have young people that are a younger generation that is really doing their utmost to still make a difference.
And that leads to the next question. I guess it's a good segue from the younger people. First of all, I mean, what's going on in Halifax? Just hearing you speak about it in such a passionate way. These stories about our community need to be told. We need to be told about the history of the pillars that help lift up our community, and it's important for us. Yeah, Derek and I even know it's important for us to represent from here, because doing this podcast has really opened up our mind to the memories that we had and some of the things that were done. Like even the gentrification that's happening now kind of harkens back to what kind of Africville went through. Like it was kind of planned over time to systematically take something away because they wanted it. So what kind of things, what else can we do to help preserve the memory of the Black community in Halifax? Especially the North End, after seeing what happened to Africville.
I think one of that call. There's a few things that have come to my mind, often, and one of them is keep the conversation always going. Never let it down on it. Right? Always keep it at the forefront. Whatever conversation, because when you have that conversation, from that comes other knowledge. Somebody else can tell you, well, there's a board or there's a committee that there's an organization that's meeting to address X, Y, and Z, and you'll find out that, I need to find out more about that one and get involved in it. I find that the word reparation, we can't let up on that. They, quote, quotation marks, and they know who they are, we know who they are. They owe. What has happened to us as a people in this province has never been truly addressed. Not the way it should have been or could have been. And what happened to Africville? Horrible. They need to give them back their homes. That's what they need to do. But there is a strong group of Africville people who are descendants that are meeting on a regular basis and that are working with the legal system to address this. And we just pray that their way and what they're doing will indeed, come to fruition and be helpful in terms of moving them as a people forward, because they deserve that. What happened to us here on Creighton Street, we want to know that we want recognition that this is a Black community, that we were here, and we want to keep telling the story in terms of how this thing happen to us, and how this thing called gentrification can happen. And it not just happened in Halifax, Nova Scotia, but we understand it happens across Canada to various groups of people. It happens in the United States. We've been doing a lot of research in terms of Black communities in the States where they, quote, decide that we like that area, we like that part of town, we want it, that's prime property. How do you go about getting it? And money and developers begin to talk. And so we need to keep telling our story.
Yeah, it's good. It's encouraging to hear that there's so many younger people that are kind of taking up the mantle and willing to call things what they are. Like, me and Jay have come a little bit later to the table for this because we were kind of caught up living our lives and doing stuff, but to come back and put ourselves in the middle of this, I think we're seeing that things that have happened to our community, and we're willing to put ourselves out there and talk about it. I think that's very important. I think you're really right, Melinda. Melinda, this has been a great conversation. Thank you so much for your time. Do you have anything else to add before we wrap up?
I'm just thrilled to be a part of it, to have this little small part of it. I so appreciate the call. Just having this very conversation with you it warms my heart and encourages me. And I'm still out there. I'm in those trenches every day. I'm teaching from time to time. I serve on various boards and committees, and still being quite active in the church and community. That's just who I am. I'll be that person, and I'm so encouraged by young men like you and the sisters that are out there that just continue to wear the banner and hold it high. And they come with such a strong sense of pride and integrity. I love it. I love it. And I just, I have to say, God bless you. You know what you're doing. And as long as you put him first, he will guide every move that you have, every move. Both of you were raised in the church, with religion, in prayer. So you know that everything that you do will be guided by him if you put your trust in him. So I wish you all the best.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Melinda. That's much appreciated. Much appreciated.
Very much so. Like this whole conversation, to hear you speak about some of the things that you've seen, some of the things that you've done, some of the legacy that you carried on, from Buddy Day, and that spirit and that sense of justice of Black people and Black community. You carried on that legacy, and and being one of our mentors, we can look at that and go, okay, so like Derek said, we're willing to pass the torch now, but and carry the torch into the next one, because I think that's where where things get better, if we can just get the next generation and the next generation, the next generation to keep talking about these things, where these things don't become an issue anymore, because it's been way, way too long. And talking to you gives us hope and faith to keep up the good fight. So thank you.
Great conversation. Thank you so much, guys.
Breaking new ground, breaking new ground, breaking new ground, breaking new ground, breaking new.
You have been listening to Down Home. Subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.
Breaking new ground, 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 yeah. On a high plateau, from the one down below to the future of the funk, getting lost in the flow. Contact with the spark magex. Now it's time to flex with the force from the soul, reaching all aspects, getting deep, no time to sleep. As you reach your next phase, laying it all on the line. New trails start to blaze. It's a fire inside, a brand new path, breaking down the sum to one. Feeling free, I just laugh with the joy of a beat boy, just kicking it live. A connection so strong, transcribed with the vibe like magic prescribed. Only to see the perfect blend like a diamond in
the song Breaking New Ground from The Breakdown.
Revolution starts with the evolution of the mind. It's a rhythm of circumference that rotates around to the surface with a purpose. Breaking new ground.
Breaking new ground.